Hello, this is Matthew of Rock Paper Shotgun, and this is Code Vein, an action RPG in the same vein, no pun intended, as Dark Souls. Now, we get hammered every time we compare any game to Dark Souls. People hate the lazy shorthand, I guess, but if the description fits, it fits. I mean, just look at it. This is a hack and slash action game where you juggle attacks, dodges, and the stamina bar that governs them both. It's a labyrinthine world of looping routes, where you collect a currency, called haze, that levels you up, but is dropped when you die. And guess what? It vanishes for good if you fail to get back to it before a second death. You have regen flasks that heal you, and you can refill them by resting at missiles. These act as checkpoints, and yep, bring enemies back to life. So yes, it's Dark Souls as hell. And I imagine that's exactly what Bandai Namco ordered, what with them not having any actual Dark Souls games left to publish. But where the game is more interesting is in the ways it deviates from that formula. It's those ideas I'll be looking at here as we pick over the first few hours with the game. Now, quick note, this is PS4 Pro footage, not PC. I'd hope it would run a bit more smoothly on the latter. With that in mind, onwards.
It's all right.
So, important difference number one, incredible hat customization. Bloodborne, good hats. Code Vein, great hats. I'm not just talking about the range of the things, from femme fatale to jaunty cowboy to, skinned Chewbacca, or my personal favourites, tiny Tim Burton tribute act or a giant Tim Burton tribute act. You can adjust their dimensions to such a degree that they begin to defy the laws of physics. And yes, you can make them glow neon in case you want the cutscenes to look even sillier than they already are. And what's better than one hat? Multiple hats. Yes, here she is, old Sally Four Hats. So many hats, I struggle to find real estate on her head to place the damn things. And incredibly, she can fit another 4 hats on top of that. But I was running out of time with the demo and didn't want this video to be just hats. Although, for the record, the hats are the best thing about Code Vein. I think I've made that clear. Of course, if you're one of those maniacs that isn't into advanced hat customization, then the most interesting thing about Code Vein is probably the role of NPC co-op partners. Okay, Souls had NPC summons who'd help share the pain, but Code Vein takes the idea further, giving you a friend from the outset and really trying to sell you on the idea that you're being helped by this character. For the most part, this is conveyed with the chatter, as they offer words of encouragement or advice, and it's well handled with a decent range of context-sensitive barks, from basic enemy awareness to more specific concerns about the environment around you.
If we get ambushed, it's all over for us. We're at a disadvantage here.
For the most part, it's more colour than anything else, offering little dollops of lore or background detail to fill the gaps, and there will be many gaps thanks to mystifying cutscenes full of nonsense terminology and poorly introduced characters. More interesting is the battle chatter, which contains a light tutorialising element, warning you to keep an eye on health when it runs low, or suggesting you back away to recuperate. Although it does lead to odd moments where they tell you to heal, and then throw a wobbly because you've used too many healing items.
Now. Don't regenerate too much, alright?
But when they aren't in meltdown, they are convincing, varied enough to avoid repetition and drawing the eye to things that are easily missed. It's in combat that AI helpers are more mixed. Generally, they make life easier as they split enemy attention between 2 targets and add a second weapon to chew through those health bars. Followers also know to hold back, letting you instigate combat, meaning you can take a softly approach without them breaking your cover. But I wonder what the game would be like if you had more control over their behaviour. As it is, once the combat starts, they decide which enemies to attack and what moves to use, making any coordination between you and them a bit of a crapshoot. At this early point in the game, the only direct interaction within your duo is the ability to heal a partner at the cost of your own health. They can do the same to you you, though you have no control over when it triggers. Generally, if they've got the health, they'll share it with you when you hit 0 HP, but the only timing you directly control is healing them. And it all works fine, but you can't help but think of the tactical delights that would arise if you could give them instructions. Think of Final Fantasy XII's Gambit system, or the broad AI profiles of Xenoblade Chronicles AI companions. Just being able to ask for a supportive buff rather than hoping it arrives on cue could make all the difference. As I'll explain in a second, there's plenty of potential for interplay between the special abilities, but it's a shame those relationships don't extend between friends. I guess we'll have to rely on human companions for that. The game does have an online summon system, but we haven't been able to test it. Oh, and while I'm on the subject of NPCs, a special shout out to the incredible Slurping freak in the opening area. This is some sublimely unpleasant vocal work.
Damn it. What the hell are you staring at?
I'll be very disappointed if he isn't revealed to be one of the 5 support partners. So what of the combat itself? On a mechanical level, a couple of things jump out. Your hero or heroine is armed with a weapon and sub-weapon they can switch between, but their more interesting moves lie in gifts, which are the 8 slots down here. Different gifts are tied to different fighting styles, more on those in a second, and offer all kinds of bonuses, from slathering blades in poison to sniping distant villains with bullets made of solid blood. These powers cost Ichor, which you refill by killing enemies who are full of the red stuff. Now, the novel bit is the option to use a slower drain attack, a blood veil in the dumb terminology of the game, which not only hurts a lot, but increases your overall Ichor count. Whether by charging the swipe in combat, or pouncing behind an enemy to stick your claws in their spine, you can earn a higher usage cap for your special moves. And this seems particularly useful as you prep for bosses. Build a larger supply beforehand, and you can step into the arena with potentially twice as many gifts at your disposal, which is a good thing. Outside of the obvious advantage, the Ichor drain gives you a bit more to achieve in regular fights. Smaller enemies aren't just bags of XP, but offer an opportunity for light self-improvement, albeit for a limited time. You see, when you rest at the missiles, you revert back to your base Ichor level. Even so, I like that stealthier play or riskier combat drains are rewarded in a way that benefits you in out-and-out combat. An even bigger twist on the Soulsborne formula is being able to radically alter a character build on the fly. Your stats and gifts are governed by blood codes, which is Code Vein's version of character classes, and codes can be changed whenever you want. At the outset, you have 3 to pick from. The fighter boosts endurance, strength, and allows you to carry heavier weapons. Or there's the ranger, which is quicker, has more stamina, and whose gifts lean towards support moves or longer range attacks. Then there's the caster, your magic build with the option to breathe fire. It comes with a higher Ichor count so that you don't run out of blood after a couple of explosive button taps. As you meet new characters or defeat boss creatures, you earn more blood codes. In this demo we get the Berserker for beating this horrible brute, which is a high strength and endurance build, but has a pitiful Ichor stock, largely limiting you to the weapon you have in your hands. Another character, Louis, gives you his Prometheus code, which is a great combat all-rounder, but noticeably weaker than the other codes, and so all its gifts focus on dodging and parrying, which makes sense. The first 2 hours of the game is no time to test and probe the blood code system, but I do like the flexibility. For me, the biggest hurdle with Dark Souls or Bloodborne is having to commit to a character before you know how the world they inhabit actually behaves. I bounced off several From Software games because I made a dogshit character and didn't know until it was too late. Blood codes eliminate some of those wrong decisions. On the flip side, I know plenty of people who like to commit to a role and live it. To them, the idea of flitting between lots of micro-classes may sound a tad undercooked, but the blood codes don't stay too rigid for long. While you can purchase new gifts to use with each code, using those special attacks increases your mastery to a point where they can be used with any code. And so you begin to build your dream class, marrying those underlying stats with the moves that you feel complement them. It only took me about 10 minutes of slashing to learn the Venom Mark, which is a ranger gift, and it let me marry that poison blade to the more frenzied combos of the Berserker's gifts, creating a far more efficient means of spreading poison. As such, you begin to see classes in another sense of the word, as a place you visit to learn new moves for the uber build you have in mind. Of course, the system hinges on there being enough interplay between the gifts to make crossbreeding worth doing, but it does have the shape of a system with real depth. While we're talking about customization, I do have to give a wider nod to the character creation software. It's not just about the hats, and lets you build the most impressive anime avatars I've seen in a game. Just a glance across the wall of pre-built character models shows how versatile the system is. I mean, any of these could pass for a pre-designed hero pulled from a JRPG or an SNK fighting game no one's heard of. From Grumpy Birthday Girl to Voldo Enthusiast to early draft of a Hideo Kojima boss fight, the range is impressive. I opted for a Shie from Persona 4 looking character, because why wouldn't you? And that's before you get into the facial crafting. The selection of anime building blocks is impressive by itself, but combined with the ability to adjust the size and placement of multiple items, and it's a dress-up box like no other. You can even pile up multiple haircuts, you crafting the exact tangle of curls and spikes that you have in mind. And look at all the colours and fabrics. This is the first action RPG to double as a haberdashery sim, sure to appeal to otaku and anyone who has tried to select a pair of curtains. If you're into the whole Fashion Souls thing, there's a chance you might not ever leave the customization screen. The only weird bit is that in your home base, you can redesign your character by using the world's worst placed bathtub, and it's right there in the middle of a drafty room. There's a car parked meters away. It's a terrible, terrible place for a bathtub. If this video feels a little bitty in how it is approached and broken down Code Vein, I'd argue that's reflective of how the game feels after a few hours. There are a lot of neat ideas that push this beyond a crude Dark Souls clone, but it also lacks Dark Souls' sense of coherence. Visually, I find it messy, with this wonderfully crafted avatar hidden under ugly armour and forced to explore a jumble of supernatural architecture and everyday junk. At first I wondered if it was procedurally generated, such as the way the parts blur together. Sadly, it isn't. Likewise, the enemies that call this place home are mostly grey, blobby things, grouped in patterns with no rhyme or reason. On a practical level, you can read their attacks and get a quick sense of their defences and such, but you never shape the sense of what the hell is that thing actually meant to be. The bland colour palette makes half of them look like unpainted miniatures, and this thing with a long nose looks more like Cyril Sneer from the Raccoons than some vampiric mutation. And I don't want to be stabbing the cartoons of my childhood. Well, apart from Evil Edna from Will-O-the-Wisp. That motherfucker was wrong. Weirdly, Code Vein manages to be incoherent while being way more explicit than the games that inspired it. There are loads of cutscenes and interactive narrative bits, from the classic "you are sick and walking very slowly" bit to the "you are in a dream vision and walking very slowly" bit, which spell out the action in a way Miyazaki's sprawling fantasy visions never do. That it spells out so much, but manages to remain unreadable, is just a failure of storytelling. I hope whatever follows these introductory hours can get it back on track. And I hope that this has given you some idea of what to expect in Code Vein. It's a game about hats, poorly placed bathtubs, and Cyril Sneer lookalikes. It takes the broad skeleton of Dark Souls and fleshes it out with genuine novelty, the co-op partners and those morphing, mutating character builds, but it does struggle to bring it all together. If you have any questions about what I've covered or anything I haven't mentioned, do pop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe to Rock Paper Shotgun for more like it? Plenty of previews of upcoming PC games. Check out our look at Plague Tale and Rage 2 for 2 incoming adventures. Now, if you don't mind, I've got 4 hats to bounce on my head, so I'll be off. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you soon. Bye for now.